Hi, I'm Betty, a 32-year-old woman who recently broke free from a toxic marriage. Leaving my ex-husband was like reclaiming my life. Let me tell you about Henry, my ex. We met on a blind date set up by a mutual friend. Henry was everything I imagined in a partner: charming, good-looking, and fun to be around. For 8 months, we enjoyed casual dating, filled with laughter and adventures. Before officially becoming a couple, 2 years in, we decided to move in together. And that's when I first learned about Henry's financial struggles. Despite my attempts to help, his career didn't improve much, but at the time, it didn't seem like a big issue since he was managing on his own. 5 years into our relationship, we decided to get married and bought a house together. The mortgage was in my name because my credit score was stronger, a decision I'm incredibly grateful for now. However, about 3 years into the marriage, Henry began to change. He became demanding, neglecting the household chores he once shared with me, always using work as an excuse. It was a far cry from the balanced partnership we'd once had. I understood how exhausting work could be, so I took on more of the household responsibilities. But over time, it became overwhelming. I brought it up with Henry several times, and he always promised to help, but the effort never lasted more than a few weeks before he'd slip back into his old habits. Despite the frustration, I kept pushing it aside out of love for him, determined to make our marriage work. This cycle dragged on for about 5 years. Our relationship started to suffer in other ways, too. There were fewer outings, and the fun we used to have together seemed like a distant memory. I was too tired to enjoy life outside of work and managing the home. Then, one day, I discovered the ultimate betrayal. Henry had left his phone unlocked, and I accidentally saw a message from someone named Carol, asking when he would leave his pathetic wife to meet her at a motel. My heart sank. I never thought Henry would cheat. Our marriage had seemed solid, he always greeted me with a smile, and we rarely fought. I decided to confront him that night. I didn't touch his phone. I wanted him to know that I had seen it. When he came out of the shower and checked his messages, he knew I knew. "We need to talk," I said. "I don't think we should," Henry replied, avoiding eye contact. "Who is she?" "You saw the message. You know her name." "How long has this been going on?" 2 years. "Let's not do this right now." 2 years? Why, Henry, why would you do this? "I don't know," he muttered. "I guess I just missed the excitement, the thrill of dating someone who's on the same wavelength as me." "Excuse me, so I'm not on the same page as you anymore?" "You've changed, Betty. You never want to go out, and when we do, it's boring. You're always exhausted, and our intimate life, it's barely there." I was stunned. "I'm exhausted because I do everything around here. You've stopped helping, and I've never once heard you offer to step up. As my husband, you're supposed to share the load, not add to it. I told you to quit your job, but you wouldn't. That doesn't mean I should handle everything by myself, and cheating on me, that's your solution?" He sighed, frustrated. "Look, I didn't plan on us having this conversation. I still want to stay married, but I'm going to keep seeing Carol. I'll be sleeping in the guest room from now on." His words hit me like a slap in the face. There was no remorse, no regret. The man who once championed equality and partnership had become someone I barely recognized. I had a feeling his shift had something to do with the podcasts he'd been listening to lately, ones that promoted outdated, toxic views on gender roles. It hurt to see him become one of those men, without even realizing it. Later that night, I heard the door click shut. Henry was leaving to meet her. I finally broke down, the tears I had been holding back pouring out, feeling devastated. I called my best friend Laura. She came over immediately, bringing ice cream and silently offering me the comfort I needed. When I was ready, I told her everything, and she was just as shocked as I was. She wanted to know how I found out. I told Laura how I found out. Henry had left his phone unlocked, and I saw a message from a woman asking when he was going to leave his pathetic wife to meet her. When I confronted him, he was reluctant to talk but eventually confessed to a year-long affair. His excuse? He found me boring, claiming I was always too tired to do anything fun with him. Laura was stunned. "How could he say that? You've been doing everything around the house," she said, shaking her head. Henry, on the other hand, seemed to believe it was my duty as his wife. The most painful part? He didn't even apologize. Instead, he blamed me, then left to spend the night with his mistress. I vented to Laura, feeling helpless and angry. I couldn't stand to be around Henry anymore, but I didn't know what to do next. The urge to scream at him or throw something was overwhelming. But instead, I asked Laura, "Can you guess what I'm thinking right now?" She paused before replying, "Honestly, no. What's on your mind?" "Henry told me he's fine staying married. but I'm completely done with him. Laura nodded, her voice firm. I'll help you with whatever you need. How about you crash at my place for a while, until you figure things out? That sounds amazing. Thanks, Laura. I've got your back, Betty, always. We spent the rest of the night watching some of our favorite movies, trying to take my mind off everything that had happened. The pain was still there, but for a few hours, I was able to escape it. The next morning, Laura helped me pack up some of my things to take over to her place. Once we settled in, I made a questionable decision. I couldn't resist the urge to snoop around. I still had access to Henry's social media on my phone, and I searched for Carol. I had never felt the need to check his messages before, but now I had to know more about the woman he was cheating with. That's when I discovered Henry had turned off notifications for Carol's messages, which explained how he had hidden the affair so well. As it turned out, Carol was a colleague of Henry's. She worked directly under him at his company, and, to my dismay, she was only 22, 10 years younger than me, and a decade younger than Henry. That fact made my stomach turn. It only confirmed my decision to end things. But before I officially filed for divorce, I wanted to make sure I was financially protected. Laura and I came up with a plan to make sure Henry couldn't walk away without consequences. First, I withdrew all the money I had contributed to our shared account and moved it into my personal account, where Henry wouldn't have access. Then, I started the process of filing for divorce. It took a few days to get everything in order, and during that time, Henry didn't even reach out to check on me. It was painful to realize he didn't care about my well-being, but then again, what more could I expect from someone who no longer valued me? I had to go back home to pick up more of my belongings. When I arrived, Henry was sitting on the couch. As soon as he saw me, he got up and asked where I had been. As if it mattered, I was taken aback, wondering why he thought he had the right to know my whereabouts. Frustrated, I told him how hurt I was that he hadn't even called once to check on me. His response? He called me a jerk. I couldn't believe it. I just found out my husband has been cheating on me because he thinks I'm boring, and you have the audacity to call me a jerk? I said, my voice laced with sarcasm. He didn't even flinch, showing no remorse. Instead, his attention shifted to the large withdrawal I had made from our joint account. Henry demanded I return the money within 2 hours, threatening me with consequences if I didn't comply. I stood my ground, reminding him that I had every right to the money I'd contributed. The argument escalated quickly, and when I told him I was considering living with my sister and leaving him for good, he scoffed, dismissing it as ridiculous. Rather than continue the fight, I chose not to engage further. Silently, I went to our bedroom, packed the rest of my things, and left for Laura's place. Once there, I recounted the entire confrontation to Laura. She suggested consulting a lawyer, and luckily, she knew one. We sought legal advice, and when the topic of the house came up, I made it clear that it was solely in my name, both the mortgage and the title. Thanks to my higher-paying job in a niche field, I earned 3 times more than Henry, and that's why everything was in my name. The lawyer reassured me that even in a divorce, the house would remain mine. If Henry's sister, Emma, moved in without my permission, I could legally evict her. Feeling more secure, I was relieved. The next morning, Henry called to inform me that his sister had moved in, claiming it was because I hadn't returned the money. Despite his frustration, I stayed calm, following my lawyer's advice to record all our conversations for future evidence. I quickly devised a plan. I would serve Emma an eviction notice, and if she refused to leave, I'd take her to court. Knowing her history of hostility towards me, I anticipated a legal battle. Emma and I had never gotten along. She always tried to outshine me, and her jealousy was obvious. Whenever she visited, she would quietly take my expensive clothes, shoes, and skincare products. Henry always made excuses for her, insisting that I let it slide because she deserved to enjoy some luxury in her life. I hated it, but for a while, I let it go to keep the peace. However, things escalated when she moved into my house and actually bragged about it. "Hey Betty, what's up? Remember when you banned me from visiting?" she said, her tone dripping with smugness. "Yeah, because you stole thousands of dollars worth of my stuff," I replied. "Who cares about that? Guess where I am now?" "I heard you moved in," Henry told me. "That's right, I've got this big, beautiful house all to myself. Looks like you're the one without a home now." I didn't let her get to me. "Actually, I still own the house. I've already sent you an eviction notice. You've got 5 days to move out." She laughed. "Evict me? This is my brother's place, and he said I could stay. I'm not going anywhere." "It's not his property, Emma. The house is mine, and he has no authority here." "Wow, you really love the sound of your own voice, don't you? No wonder my brother found someone else." I hung up after hearing her laugh. I didn't have time to argue. I'd given her fair warning, and if she didn't leave within 5 days, I was prepared to take legal action. Sure enough, an hour later, Henry called, furious about the eviction notice. I didn't engage with him either. Over the next 5 days, 2 major events occurred. First, I served Henry with divorce papers, which he chose to contest. Second, Emma didn't move out, so I legally served her with a court summons. Emma was shocked when she realized the house wasn't in Henry's name, but mine. She accused me of tricking her, but I reminded her that I had given her ample warning. In court, my lawyer presented all the evidence, the eviction notices, recorded phone calls, and proof that I had repeatedly asked her to leave. Squatting laws in my state are strict, and Emma was charged with a Class A misdemeanor and fined $800. Watching her get defeated in court after years of her petty behavior was incredibly satisfying. Once the legal matters were settled, Henry and Emma showed up at Laura's house, confronting me as if I had wronged them. They accused me of mistreating Emma, but I stood my ground, reminding them that Emma had been stirring up trouble for years. The satisfaction of putting an end to it all made every bit of waiting worth it. When Henry tried to justify his actions, claiming he only got involved because Emma had nowhere else to go, I shut him down. You dragged her into this, Henry. That was your choice, not mine. I was just helping her out, and when things between us started to fall apart, the house became an option. If we hadn't broken up, she might have secretly moved in anyway. Spare me the details, I said, cutting him off. I've heard enough. I'll see you in court. Emma, always eager to stir the pot, asked, how did the house end up in your name? I couldn't help but laugh at her naivety. Your brother's name isn't on any of the paperwork. I've been paying the mortgage and covering the repairs for the last 6 years. No matter how hard he fights it in court, he's not getting a cent from this house. All he'll walk away with is a legal bill. I'm sure you set him up, Emma shot back. I gave her a cold smile. I didn't need to. Your brother likes to play the boss at home, but when it comes to real responsibility, he vanishes. Thankfully, I won't have to deal with this circus anymore. Goodbye. With that, I firmly closed the door, marking the end of our interactions. Over the next few weeks, Henry tried to stake his claim on everything we owned, but I wasn't worried. I had receipts for all the furniture and belongings, and Henry could only take what he'd actually paid for, which wasn't much. Meanwhile, I decided to share evidence of Henry's affair with Carol at his workplace. 2 weeks later, he was fired, though Carol managed to keep her job. I later found out through some of Henry's co-workers that she had accused him of coercing her into the relationship by threatening to withhold work opportunities. Predictably, their relationship didn't survive the fallout. A few months later, the divorce was finalized, and I was officially free. I threw myself into my work and celebrated my newfound freedom with Laura. We raised a glass to closing that chapter of my life and moving on to better things. The last I heard, Henry and Emma were sharing a shabby apartment, still struggling to find jobs. Their parents, who initially sided with them, had grown frustrated, giving them a limited budget and disapproving of their choices. Even my former in-laws called to apologize for how they had treated me. Now that I'm free, I'm excited for what life has in store. This whole experience taught me the importance of valuing myself and never letting anyone take advantage of me again. Here's to new beginnings.